Hi friends, I'm Felicia. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here. Storm is here. You might hear her. I don't know. We'll see. Today is April 16th. No, it's the 15th today. And I'm going to be doing my March wrap up. I read a lot in March. Also, I just did also want to apologize for my bangs. I got a haircut yesterday, so they're in like that too short stage, but like next week it's gonna be right. So that's what's going on here. Anyways, so I'm here with Storm and I'll just tell you about the books that I read. I read 21 books. Bless you. 21 books. Are you okay? I read 21 books in March. Oh gosh, and I'm not sure how I want to tell you about it. This is my reading journal. So I have them all listed there. They didn't even like fit. I'll tell you about the middle grade reads first. I read a lot for middle grade March and for March Mystery Madness. That was the other one. I borrowed a lot of ebooks and graphic novels from the library and read them on my tablet / my phone. So yeah, okay. That doesn't really matter. So the first one that I read was Strange Planet by Nathan Pyle. And I don't this isn't technically middle grade, but like I feel like middle graders could enjoy it. I'm sure you've seen his comic Strange Planet on Instagram or just like around the internet. And so I saw the book and I was like, yeah, sure. I really enjoy the comic, but I did actually stop following it on Instagram because it felt like I kept seeing the same thing over and over and over. So I was like, yeah, I'll just pick up the book and like, yeah, whatever. It was good. If you like it, then it's good. Then I actually read 2 books by an author, Isabelle Arsenault, who is from Quebec, so she's Canadian. The first one that I read is actually like a kid's book, and that was Albert's Quiet Quest, and it's just about a little boy who wants to sit outside and read his book, but everyone in his neighborhood is just being way too loud. So it was very cute. I love the art style. I would recommend it if you want a kid's book about books and reading. So the other book that was illustrated by her is Jane, the Fox, and Me. And I believe the writer of that book was Fanny Britt. And I believe she is also from Quebec. I had heard about this on BookTube when it came out years ago. I think it's middle grade, maybe like more like 10, 11, 12 age. It's a graphic novel about a girl who is bullied in school and she finds solace in reading Jane Eyre. So that's kind of where the story starts. I didn't really know anything about the plot besides that, and I think that's enough. So like if bullying is a sensitive subject, you know, be warned about that, but I thought it was well written. I listened to 4 audiobooks of books written by Roald Dahl. I had only read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory previously. That was the only Roald Dahl book I've ever read, and so now I have read 5. And the reason I decided to listen on audio is because the audiobooks, most of them have just fantastic narrators. So the first one that I listened to was Matilda, narrated by Kate Winslet. Loved it. Saw the movie as a kid. I think I talked about this in my TBR. Terrified me, the teacher. But yeah, the book was really good. And it was published the same year that I was born, 1988. So that filled one of the prompts for middle grade March. And like I didn't really pay attention that one. I wasn't intentionally trying to do the prompts, but I think that one just stood out that I had completed that one. So yeah. But yeah, really enjoyed Matilda. And then I listened to, it was a collection of 3 from Audible, and I don't think I'd heard of any of them before. So they were all a bit shorter. Like all 3 of them together were under 6 hours. So the first one in that is The Twits, and that's narrated by Richard Ayoade, who I love. So that was actually the reason that I bought that. I was like, Richard Ayoade narrates this? Yes, please. And then I saw that the other book also had really good narrators. I'll mention them in a second. Okay, so the Twits, didn't love this one, but like the narration was wonderful because, again, I love Richard Ayoade. And this is a story about a really nasty couple who just are the worst humans ever. And is mice birds? Pfft, can't even remember now. Some creatures take revenge on them. I think it's mice. Anyway, so it was humorous, but yeah, like, I didn't love it, the story, but I could see kids really liking it. Oh, and like one thing about Matilda, like I would like kids read it, but I would want to talk to them about how Matilda does not have respect for her elders, which is like understandable because they're terrible, abusive adults. So like I would want to talk to them about like why that's bad, what the adults are doing, but also Matilda's response is bad. Like maybe she should have gone to the police or something. I don't know. Anyway, so I would want to talk to kids about that. Is that even something to be concerned about? I don't know. I don't have kids. I just feel like that's what I would want to do. Okay, so then the second book in that collection is Billy and the Minpins, and that was narrated by Bill Bailey, who I also love, and he just did a fantastic job. So this is about a boy named Billy who goes into the forest, and what happens in the forest? He finds the Minpins, which are like little people like this, kind of like the borrowers, and he helps them with a problem that they're having. And yeah, like that one was like an hour and a half. It was under 2 hours anyways, the book. The Twits was the longest one. I think that one was also 2 hours, potentially. But yeah, anyways. And then the last one in that was The Magic Finger, again, narrated by Kate Winslet, so it was just delightful. And like, by the way, she is an amazing audiobook narrator. Like, just perfect. Loved it. Who knew that she could pull so many voices? Like, it was just great. And The Magic Finger is about a girl who has a magic finger that when people upset her, then she points her magic finger at them and things start happening to them. And that's all. Basically, that one was like an hour, so that was a very short one. But yeah, so enjoyable. I'm jumping around here because I'm trying to lump all my middle grade books together. Try not to talk about them too long, but you know, I'm me, so I'm going to talk about them forever. Okay, then I read, it was 2 books, but they are also published as 1 book sometimes, an omnibus. It's a duology. And it's the Miss Annie duology, I think. So the 2 books are Freedom and Rooftop Cat by Frank Legal. And I believe he is French. I don't know if this is translated or was translated from French or if it was written in English. I couldn't find out. And this, I don't actually know what age group this is for. Maybe kids, but I don't know. It would be rough for some middle graders, especially if they're like really sensitive to animal abuse, because there's bad things that happen to animals in this book. So it's basically about a cat named Annie, and she wants to go outside and be, you know, a free cat so she can come and go as she pleases. And finally she's old enough, according to her owners, to go outside and wander around. So then she meets some older cats and yeah, hijinks ensue. But yeah, there are some, like, when I was reading it, I was like, what age group is this for? Like, I don't know. Like, a child could read this, but if they love animals, this might be hard for them. And there is, I think the humans curse a little bit, like, just whatever. So it's not like horrible, but again, not child appropriate, so I don't know. But then the way it was written made me think that it was supposed to be for kids, so just like, I don't know. I read it because it was a cat. Did I like it? Yeah, it was okay. Like, It was just middle of the road. Like, I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but I'll probably never think about it again. Then I read, half listened to, because I found the audiobook on YouTube for free, narrated by Sophie Thompson, who is Emma Thompson's sister. And once you know that, it's very obvious. They sound very similar. Did I say the book? I read Mary Poppins by P.L. Travers. Had never read Mary Poppins before. Obviously, I've seen the movie a million times. Also, I loved Mary Poppins Returns, Emily Blunt. I love Emily Blunt. She's like one of my favorite actresses. Just love her. So yeah, Mary Poppins. The book was wonderful. Yeah, it was just delightful and whimsical, and I just really loved it. So I'm glad that I finally read it. And like, if you want to listen to a free audiobook on YouTube, it's there. Then I read the continuation of a middle grade graphic novel series that I started last year, which was Zita the Spacegirl by Ben Hackey. So I read book 1 last year in March, and I now finished it with books 2 and 3, which are The Return of Zeta the Spacegirl and Legends of Zeta the Spacegirl. Really enjoyed this series. I was into sci-fi as a kid, and I would have totally loved this. It's about a girl whose friend gets abducted by aliens, and she goes to save him, and then like kind of what happens after that. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say about that. I enjoyed it. Hello, Rogue. Are you coming to hang out? Oh, you're so cute, baby. Come here. Hi. Come here. You haven't been in a video in a bit. Oh, this is Rogue. She's so big. She's a very large cat. What's out there? Look at this cutie. She's so cute. Okay. Wow. Okay, then I have actually a physical book to show you that was off of my TBR. The Island at the End of Everything by Karen Millwood Hargrave. This one, this is historical fiction set in the Philippines. The setting is early 1900s, 1906, at an island that was famously the largest leper colony in the world for a certain number of years. I can't remember. Anyways, it's like a historical, or it's like a fictional telling of this real event, place, time idea. So it just follows our main character, whose mother is a leper. I don't know. In the book, they didn't like to be called lepers, and so now I'm like, is that offensive? I don't know. Anyways, the people on that island, they said they were touched. So the main character is untouched, meaning she does not have leprosy, and her mom does. And so this is right when the island is going to be, when the government came up with their plan to send just like all of the lepers to this island, and they made any untouched people leave, and so she has to be separated from her mom. So that's kind of what our story is, and she's trying to get back to her mom. I really enjoy this. This is the second book I've read by this author, and I really enjoy her writing, and I thought that she just did a beautiful job. So yeah, it was good. I'm trying not to talk too long. I'm talking too long. Oh, I only have 2 more middle grade books to talk about. Okay, so I read The Adventures of Miss Petitfour by Anne Michaels, and I did find an audiobook narrated by, I forget the author, but I did read half of it on my phone. And the illustrations are very cute. There are illustrations in here. Adorable. So this book feels a lot like Mary Poppins, because it's about a woman who lives with 16 cats, and she has a bunch of tablecloths, and she uses her tablecloths as parachutes / kites that like blow her around, and she always travels everywhere with her cats, and they're kind of like the kite tail. There's pictures, very cute. My nose is very itchy today. It has a very whimsical style of writing, and like things that happen. The thing that kind of annoyed me about this book was like everyone has just like crazy whimsical names, and like some of them are ridiculously long, and then every time they're referred to it's like all 10 of these names, like every single time. So it's like, man, if I was reading this book out loud to my kids, I would be very annoyed by the end of it. I did enjoy it, and I would own a copy of it. I did like it. I just wouldn't want to read it out loud. And then the last middle grade book that I read, technically middle grade, people often call it middle grade, The Fables of Aesop. And this is a really old copy that I got. I don't even remember where I got this from. It's super old. This one is from, when did you get printed? 1935. This is from 1935, you guys. So like, wow, it's almost 100 years old. This is almost 90 years old. Yeah, Fables of Aesop, like I've, read a bunch over the years and enjoyed them. So I did enjoy this collection of them. I'll show you, should I show you the illustrations? Like every story had an illustration, and like, I'm just trying to find a really good one. Okay, here, The Dog and His Shadow. That's a pretty famous story. So each story has like an illustrated title and then like a full illustrated photo. And some of them have more than one photo. So it's like, it's really cool. So yeah, gonna hang on to this. But yeah, so I enjoyed that. Yeah, and that's all of my middle grade books, I think. Okay, I read 4 books for March Mystery Madness. So the first book that I read for March Mystery Madness was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. Officially my first Agatha Christie novel. And what's funny is that I have listened to a BBC radio production, I think, of And Then There Were None, like in 2015 or 2016. And so my memory, luckily my memory for books sometimes is really terrible. So I listened to this whole audiobook and I just like did not know who did it. Even though I have listened to this before, I remember like 2 things from the plot. Oh yeah, and the audiobook's narrated by Dan Stevens, who also just like great narrator. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really loved the mystery, the writing, the way the plot was laid out. I think I really like kind of like that closed room setting. I think that's what they call it, where all of the story happens in like this one area, and like this is just where all the characters are. And yeah, I really like that. I thought it was amazing. So please tell me which Agatha Christie book I should read next, because it will be my second one. And she has like 9,000 books and I just don't know where to start. Then I read another physical book, The Bachelor Girl's Guide to Murder by Rachel McMillan. That was weird. So this is actually a reread for me because I want to continue on with the series. And I think it was Sarah from The Bookish Knitter that was kind of hosting a read along with this book. And I found out about it from Rainy. So from Rainy Day Reads. So I joined in, and this was such a fast read. Like I have been reading so slowly with physical books lately, but like this one I just like went through it because it's just such easy reading, the writing style, and it's very engaging. I just flew through it. This is set in 1910, I think. Yeah, it says right there, 1910 in Toronto, which is very cool for me because I'm Canadian and I love all of the Canlit that I read this month. Like that was great. So much Canlit represented. But yeah, so this is set in 1910 Toronto, and it follows our 2 main characters, Miranda Herringford and Jem Watts, and they are kind of like, the female version of Holmes and Watson, and they are going through Toronto trying to solve mysteries, basically. And this is just such a great book. There's romance, there's adventure, there's mystery. The romance isn't heavy-handed. It's just like a really delightful part in the story. And I think it's just a really great book, and you should read it if you like historical fiction and mysteries and women being empowered. So I have the other 2 books on my shelf and definitely plan to pick those up soon. So there are 3 novels and there are 3 short story novellas that go with the series. So there's 6 things to read. And if you read on Kindle, you can get that whole bundle for like $20. So do that if you read on Kindle. So they have all of these really wordy titles. So the first novella is A Singular and Whimsical Problem. The timeline is a little bit funny. It kind of feels like it takes place in between some of the events that happen in this book. And with this book, you just jump right in. Like, it's like you already know these characters, they're established. You find out about the characters and the world building like as you go along. So I actually really like that. But like, so some of the events in this first novella feel like they would take place about here. So it's kind of interesting. I'm a little bit confused about when they take place, but if you read it, you'll know. The second one is Of Dubious and Questionable Memory, which fully take place after this book. You could read the first novella. It's like the 0.5, and you could read it at either place. You could read it halfway through this one if you wanted. Like, that might be interesting too. So yeah, really enjoyed all of them. And so now I'm ready to start book 2. Okay. Wowee. I've talked about so many books. Okay. Then the last book that I read for March Mystery Madness was The Hound of the Baskervilles. Sherlock Holmes. Bye. Arthur Conan Doyle. Why did I have to think about that? So The Hound of the Baskervilles. Here's something that I'm going to tell you. I enjoy Sherlock Holmes novels better than the short stories. I just find that I have a hard time engaging with the short stories, which is very weird. I've been listening to the audiobooks narrated by Stephen Fry, which is a very good use of your Audible credit because you get like all of the Sherlock Holmes in one thing narrated by Stephen Fry. But yeah, so The Hound of the Baskervilles, I think, is probably the most famous Sherlock Holmes story. And did I enjoy it? Yes, I did, because it was a novel. I feel like I'm not as like into Sherlock as a lot of people are, but I do enjoy it. Yeah, so I feel pretty good about what I all read. Like for Middle Grade March and March Mystery Madness, I read so much. Crazy. I think, well, I guess Strange Planet didn't really count as middle grade, but like middle graders could enjoy it. I'm just gonna double check this list. My long list. Yeah, so the last book that I have to talk about actually was like more towards the beginning of the month, but it didn't fall into any of those 2 categories. And I finally did it. I read Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson and I loved it. It was so good. And I just like feel mad at myself for sleeping on the series for such a long time. And I need to keep going because I had a good momentum and I just feel like, man, I just need to finish reading the series. So if you're not familiar with Mistborn, which I feel like I'm the last person in the world to read it, even my husband has read it. Mistborn takes place in a fantasy world where, wow, how do I explain this without giving stuff away? So basically there is this, you know, Lord Ruler that's evil and he has the population of his empire just like all under his thumb. Just like this. What is this? And so there's this group that want to overthrow him and set the kingdom free, essentially. The magic system in this series world is very cool. Basically, there are characters called allomancers. Sorry, just like, what are my bangs doing? There are characters called allomancers, and they have the ability to burn metals, and each metal has a different ability attached to it. So they can burn metals and then they have these different abilities. And so allomancers, I mean, if I'm getting this wrong, sorry. The allomancers can burn one kind of metal and have this one kind of power. But then there are Mistborns who have the ability to burn all of the metals and have all of the powers. So those are like, you know, the really powerful ones. I think the way that Brandon Sanderson himself describes this book is like My Fair Lady meets Ocean's 11 in a fantasy world. I might be missing one of the other things that it meets. But I would actually say this is like Miss Congeniality more than My Fair Lady because I think that's more accurate. And I don't know if it's a spoiler to say, but yeah. So like first of all, once I heard that it was like My Fair Lady meets Ocean's 11, I was like, two of my favorite movies. Why haven't I read this? But then as I started reading, I was like, this is totally like Miss Congeniality. So let me know if you also think that, if you've read this book. But yeah, so loved it. Can't wait to read more. Okay, so I've been talking for a very long time. So I hope that, so if you're still watching this video, like, let me know. Yeah, if you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts on them. And if I introduce any new books to you. I feel like with middle grade especially, it's like really easy to find new books that I haven't really heard of before. Okay, yeah, my voice is done. I hope that you have a really good day, and I hope that you are enjoying what you're reading. Let me know down below if you're, reading anything cool. Okay, that's it. So thanks for watching, and until next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.